Well, howdy, Joseph.
Hi, hello, how are you?
We heard the news,
We're quite enthused.
and the only thing to do
What should we do?
is strum this guitar
And sing to the stars.
and serenade you.
You survived, and that's true. I thought I'd send a little wish to you.
That is some mighty fine fiddling. But hey, let's pick it up.
All right.
That's more like it. Yeehaw!
Play it for Joseph.
All right, now where were we? Okay, you're still standing, and that's pretty great.
Joseph.
You know what? You kicked its butt. It's time to celebrate.
Joseph.
Birds will jingle jangle.
It's time to do-si-do.
So grab yourself a partner and let's see go.
Cause it's a
Jingle jangle here and a jingle jangle there. A jingle jangle inspiration everywhere. A jingle jangle here and a jingle jangle there.
a jingle jangle inspiration everywhere.
All right. That's how you celebrate.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous. I'm kinda, but I'm Ross. You know, Jaffe is nothing more than a zombie extra. You know, Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
There was one guy I was dealing with getting a little bit pissy over the kid interrupting the call thing, and I'm like,
Cheerio!
appreciate.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, please. Yeah.
My bad. Please continue. It's very alliterative.
They are going to be the ones powering the experiences that every customer has.
Preference has power. I'm pretty sure Kato would say to me when I do every show, stop.
I think he would.
Those pieces are popping. Wait till you get the invoice.
Here. I have a question. When's the last time you danced? When's the last time you laughed?
Right now.
You flew.
I don't want to dance with you.
When's the last time you flew a kite?
Toasted Oreo.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're
How did I do that?
insane. You're insane.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the show. Did you miss me? It's Wednesday. There was no show on Monday or Tuesday because, you know, it's summer. It's time for us to get back into the IRL. It's time to, hang out with middle-aged males in New York City for NFT NYC. Just kidding. Or maybe hang out. Heather is shaking her head already. In the background, or maybe, go and bask on a yacht in Cannes, or the advertising festival, or, Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse. Who the hell knows? I tell you where you need to be and where you want to be is right here, right now, with me and with Heather, as we discuss the most important thing, which of course is, say it with me, people, community in that order. Donovan is here. Donovan Dreyer. Hey, Donovan. Hey, Jaffe. And Heather Parady is, wait a second. Heather is commenting on herself right now. This is very meta. Not the company, not the metaverse, just meta. Remember when good old meta meant meta? Donovan says, speaking up for the middle-aged males in Colorado. Well, at least you're not flaunting your NFTs around, saying, look at me. I'm a nerd. I'm just kidding. I always mirror the energy of my guests. And I saw a tweet from her and she said, I don't know what was the word, Heather? You can put it in the private chat, but I was like, was it, she's typing, was it spunky? I don't want to say the wrong word, but sure, bring it. It's not often that you end up with like-minded people. Yes, spunky, she says. And you get excited when you're around your own kind, when you're around people that get it, as opposed to the people that talk a big game. Well, one of the things that I've looked to do is live community and also figure out ways to not just be in Web3, but to be Web3. In fact, my keynote from last week was called not Introduction to Web3, it was Introduction to Web Me. And one of the ways that I've done that is through my Jaffe coin. And you know, it's something that I'm actually going to be on Heather's show tomorrow. We're doing a little bit of a guest, a host, an audience, a community swap. And she wants to know about creator coins, and I want to tell you a little bit about creator coins. So what I've done, if you're new to the show, is I have a creator coin on rally.io. And this is where you can actually find out more about my coin page, where you can buy coin. But the beautiful thing about what's happening right now is you buy the coin, you hold the coin, you validate the coin in Discord, you get a specific role, and suddenly with that comes a whole host of experiences, a whole bunch of ways to interact, to access myself, my guests, my brand, my platform. And the beauty is that you hold the coin. You own the coin. Can you imagine that? This is why I'm so excited about Web3, because the whole business model is changing. You don't have to buy something, as in the money leaves your hands and leaves your pocket, to actually benefit. And it's not a one-way street. It is absolutely a two-way street. So if you have one coin, just one JAFFE coin, suddenly all the show's channels open up. But if you have 10 coins, you become a fan. And when you become a fan, you get access to a whole bunch of things like NFT giveaways. And here's another thing. I give away coin in every single episode. So I'm going to do that right now. So you will notice, and it's so great because I figured out the mirroring. So all I have to do is there, right? Well, not quite there. But if you see a QR code like there, I saw a QR code. That QR code right now is going to do three things. One, it's going to give you JAFFE coin, about 0.1 of a JAFFE coin, which, you know, is about 40 cents at the moment. It all adds up. But more importantly, it is only live while the show is live. And you need to hold 10 coin. You need to be a fan. You need to have that role in the Discord in order to benefit, in order to get coin. So there's a beautiful symbiotic relationship. It is a two-way street. And as I said, once you hold 10 coin, you now can benefit from this every single episode. I am a big believer that we need to stop focusing on what I call strangers and prostitutes. First-time buyers is a stranger, and a prostitute is a promiscuous customer, one that switches to you for the wrong reasons, and one that will switch away from you for the wrong reasons, for the same wrong reasons. Rather, dial into, feed into, pour into your customer, your community, your audience with perks and benefits. Now, if you hold 25 coin, you become an insider, which means you get access to all of my show notes. I'll be taking show notes today with Heather, and all of what I believe and that I can remember at the time, because I'm taking those notes in real time. You'll be able to see those insights with timestamps. But another thing that I've just added, and that's another part of the beauty of building community and building a whole ecosystem using a coin or a token, is that you can just keep adding value. Nobody says you should stop. In fact, I'm just going to continue. So I'm going to share with you now something that only insiders and above get, which is access to 1-minute highlights from my guests. And this is one, let me find it now, because, this is Joel Com. It's called an NFT is a key. Watch this.
Well, look, we understand that NFTs are so much more than the pixels. It's not about the art. It's about the community. It's the NFTs are simply a key that unlocks the magical box, and that magical box is contains whatever the creators want to put into it. And so that's the thing I love the most about NFTs is our imagination and creativity can take us wherever we want to go with them. You can drop physical goods to people, you can drop digital goods, whitelist them for other collections, you can unlock real life experiences, you can unlock communities. The number of things that can be unlocked are infinite. It's all within our imagination.
I absolutely loved that quote. An NFT is a key that unlocks a magical box. I mean, it's beautiful. I'm crazy because I actually got goosebumps. Like, what's wrong with me? An NFT is a key that unlocks the magical box. It's like honey. It just pours. It just flows beautifully, and it's true. It's absolutely true. That is what I think that articulation just really helps people understand. Now, the last two levels are a VIP level. At 50 coin, you can actually come backstage with myself, with my guests, 15 minutes before. I share that. I forgot today, but I share that link in Discord, and you can actually hang out. So maybe it's someone that you've always wanted to meet. You get 15 minutes with the two of us, 15 minutes before the show starts, and maybe a little bit of extra time when the show ends. And finally, at 100 coin, you become a super fan. You're part of the show. So guest suggestions. You want someone to come on? I'll go get them for you. I mean, I'll try. There'll be a monthly call. You can suggest ideas for the show. You can also come onto the show anytime. So anytime you've got something that you want to promote, you can come on the show. Can you see how things are changing? Can you see how this isn't just, look at me, I'm the host, I'm the benevolent host, I talk, you listen. It's not like that at all. It's about people that are watching live, they comment, I put their comments on. It is about true interaction, engagement, but those are buzzwords. I just think it's about being able to recognize that without you, there is no me. I'm a madman talking to a poor HD camera. You know, we're madmen, we're mad women, we're mad people. You know, Heather just talks into a microphone, into a podcast, and if no one's listening, she may as well be talking to herself. She's a crazy lady walking down the street. I'm a crazy man walking down the street, just talking to ourselves. It's important to recognize without you, we are nothing. And everybody says that, but nobody does that. Nobody lives that. So when I look at the Jimmy Fallons of the world, and I look at all of the talk show hosts, I believe that I can be different. I know I can be different. Like I know Heather can be different. Like I know she is different. And that's why I'm so thrilled to bring her on. But before I do that, it is time for my seated soliloquy. I almost feel like I just gave you a bit of a seated soliloquy, but still, I'm just going to touch on this idea that I'm going to call slow ride. Slow ride. I'm not going to sing it to you, but I think these are challenging times. I think we all get it. I think we all recognize how difficult things are at the moment. But what we need to do, and I've said this before, is slow down. Slow down. Take a breath. Get perspective. You know, as I say to my kids, and I've said this before on the show, if you're not going to worry about it in 5 years' time, don't waste the next 5 minutes or more than the next 5 minutes worrying about it now. But the greats of the world, the athletes, the professionals, the real talent have the ability to slow things down, no matter how crazy things are, no matter how intense they are, no matter how high the stakes are, they have the ability to just slow things down. Parents know how to do that because they have wisdom, because they have perspective. Parents have the ability to take their panicked children and slow everything down and think rationally and think logically and think calmly and ultimately lead their kids to the right place, the right outcome. And that's what I want to say to you. Slow it down, take it easy, enjoy life, enjoy what you have, warts and all, enjoy the successes, enjoy the failures, learn from them, and ultimately come out stronger. And now it is time, speaking of strength, to bring on my famous strong, I don't know why I said strong, but I said speaking of strength, and I was ultimately looking for a segue. I decided to take her bio and write it up in the third person. So, howdy, friend. Her name is Heather. She used to be a therapist and then decided to take the leap into the online space to see what kind of damage she could do there. She started as a photographer and freelancer, ended up podcasting over 1,000 episodes in total, and then started helping therapists and coaches build online programs. One thing she learned though, no one likes to talk about this. You can make things all day long, but without serving a community all along the way, no one is going to buy your crap. Can we just talk plainly here? Well, I would have said shit. And it's not just about selling your work. I mean, that's nice. But when we talk about fulfilling work, she believes it starts with true service. Welcome to the show, Heather Parady. And wait.
That you were saying that we need to slow down, but you have like this like club music in the background. So I'm like over here dancing while you're talking about slowing down.
Slow music. Let's see. We can just dance a little bit. I got other stuff. I call this one snarky. So when you want to get spunky, we'll play that music for you. How are you, Heather?
I'm so freaking good, and I love your presentation and all the things you're doing. It's awesome. I think we can learn a lot as content creators by watching people like you produce content as opposed to just throwing crap out there. So
and likewise back to you. I mean, I guess we could just spend the whole hour, which we won't, but we could spend the whole hour just talking about our process, what we've learned, how we've evolved. Here I am almost 2.5 years later, still waiting to manifest what I believe will be the outcome, the deserved outcome. I mean, I don't want to be entitled, but I want to end up on whether it's Apple TV Plus or CNBC. And you know what? I won't stop until I take my last breath, until it happens.
Me
I might
too.
run out of time.
But we'll die happy.
Yes.
So come on.
You,
Yep.
what is your manifested goal for specifically the podcast and what you're doing right now?
My goal is to travel the world and tell stories and get paid to do it. So I'm just like you. I know that your main goal is that you left your career and said, I'm going to go all in and be a full-time host. I am a host. I love hosting. I love this. And this is what I'm called to do with my life. And I'm doing a whole bunch of stuff to make that happen. It's a long process, but you know the game. So we're very similar.
And well, I mean, we're more similar than you think, because I actually said, I tell people now, I say, I'm not a consultant, I'm not an author, I'm not even calling myself a speaker. I guess I used to be called a thought leader, whatever the hell that is. Now I refer to myself as a host. And I think, what you realize about being a host is that you're not passive. You're not just someone reading cue cards. If you're a subject matter expert, you have a point of view. And I love that. I love the intellectual sparring. But when it comes to this show, I took a huge step back, and why it's called Not Famous is because guess what? It's not about me. It's about my guests. And that took me into a whole new place completely.
Yeah. So here's something interesting, and this will tie back into community building a little bit. I'll try to see if I can tie into it. I started studying storytelling and acting, and I started doing stand up and improv and some of these other creative art stuff just because I was interested in it. But the byproduct of that was I was like, holy mother of God, this transfers into content creation, into marketing so much. And I think, when you're starting off putting content out there, it's good to just put something out there because you're getting over yourself. You're getting over what people think of you. You're just getting used to getting in the habit and the routine of showing up online. But then when you've been doing that for a couple of years, I think the next level is to start learning about the story. And when I say the story, I don't mean like, here's Paul and here's Mary and they go to the store. I don't mean like a story like that. I mean, what are we trying to portray here, and cutting everything out that doesn't serve it? And to your point, that makes it where it's not about Heather Parady. It's not about what I think is interesting. It's about the story that we're trying to tell. And that's what communities are attracted to. That's what people are attracted to. But it requires us as the leaders to get the hell out of the way sometimes and be unromantic about what we're interested in and what serves us, and make it all about the story, which really serves the community.
Yeah, I love that. And the other thing that's so interesting about it is it really is that customer centric lens, right? Which is really being able to put yourself in the shoes, in the ears, in the eyes, in the soul of the people that watch or listen.
Yes.
And not just empathize, but really serve them. And that's the word that I saw in your bio, which is service. This is about service. How can I serve you better? How can I make your life better? How can I change your life? And if I even have that small ability, then my life is worthwhile.
That's it. That's it. And people can sniff it out, dude. Like, we're not fooling anybody anymore. We could fool people back in what the cool cats call the web 2 days, like Instagram, blue check marks, and like followers and audience and influencers. Like, dude, we could fool people like the past 5-10 years or whatever. But we're entering into I'm sorry I move my hands a lot. I'm a little ADD. we're moving into a time where people are just tired of the BS. They're tired of being sold to. They're tired of feeling like they're being used. They're tired of being lied to. They're tired of feeling like that, the influencer, the person is only after their money. They want connection. They want experience. They want to feel like that you give a damn about them, whether or not they become your customer, whether or not they become your holder. And I'm excited about this time because it has the potential to really weed out a lot of the people who, and I'm not against making money, I'm not against promotion, and I'm not against all of that. We have to do that. However, we're drawing a fine line in the sand where the people who are only here for that, I don't believe are going to succeed, because communities don't want to follow that. They want to follow people who are real and authentic and genuinely give a damn about them.
I appreciate the fact that you use the voice for authentic. Authentic.
Authentic. Yeah. Nobody even.
I like to say you can't fake authenticity. So So speaking of community, David Libby was one of the regulars, and then I think he I think he became too famous to be a regular anymore. I'm just kidding. David is a good friend, and he's arrived. He's back watching the show, and he said, "Damn it, you need to serve me, Heather. You need to tell me what Web3 is. What is Web3, for God's sake?"
We're all trying to figure that out. It's not fully defined yet. Let's just start there. Anybody who says they're a Web3 expert is lying to you. Everybody's still trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But here's the attempt. It's the third iteration of the internet, which means that it's focused on decentralization and ownership, essentially. And so what that means, really quickly, I love this dude. I forgot his name. Forgive me, dude. Who was out in the Senate, but he shared on the Senate, trying to explain Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. He said Web 1 is like a billboard with information where we went and we consumed information, and that was it. Web 2 is when we could actually interact with that information. We could post ourselves. It was where the move of the creator, social media, blogging, blah, 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 blah. But here's the deal. Web 2, the corporations owned all of that. We went and engaged with these different platforms and exchanged our data, right, for the permission to build audiences. What we did in Web 2. Web 3 is when we're trying to take the power, the control out of those corporations' hands, store information instead on the blockchain. Not going to get into all that, but now we can actually prove ownership. We can prove where something came from. We can have a ledger that gives power back into the creator's hands. It's really interesting. Last thing I'll say on that is it's now, I've heard the term creator economy, which I think is super cool because I'm a creator. That's the short version of Web3. I'm sure you have something to add, Joseph.
The crowd, the studio audience are loving it. You know what I love about that is you're like, whoa, you just put me on the spot. Web3, let me think about it. And then you just, you were in autopilot there. I loved it.
I've explained it a few times.
Ask another question, David. Come on.
Come on,
Don't
David.
Yes, David.
David.
He said, well said. Thanks, Heather. And it's great to be back. No, I think what you said is great. I like to think in threes. So for example, Web 1 was read, right? Read the catalog. Look at us. We just put everything online. Web 2, as we know, is the read write web. And the third one is read, write, reward. That's one way I look at it. A new thought of mine from like literally a couple of days ago was this. So when I wrote my second book, Join the Conversation, I said, marketing is not a campaign, it's a commitment. So in true C's, from campaigns to commitment to construction, we are building, we are builders, and we are building, and we're building something where we can all participate, not just the few. So I'm a huge believer in this idea of community capitalism, right? And then I've got one more thing to say to that. You shouldn't say to me again, Heather, Joe, do you want to add anything to it? Because well, yes, I do. No, but basically, to put it as bluntly as possible, this is our third attempt, and hopefully not our third strike, to get community right. That's what Web3 is. Don't fuck it up.
That's really good.
I'm sorry. I should have asked you if I can swear. You can swear too.
But I am going to ask you what you think, because here's something else that I'll put a stake in the ground forever with and die at. I fully, wholeheartedly believe that we're going to get a lot further when we, as influencers and leaders and creators, when we create an environment where we're all learning together and it's not this hierarchy thing. And so, like, even like being guests, I know it's super oversimplified, but even like being guests on shows and stuff, like being able to go back and forth with each other and learn and grow together. That's why I believe Newbies was so successful. We had a show called NFTs for Newbies. It ended about a month ago, but we did for 8 months. So we positioned ourselves as learners. And it was amazing, the community that gathered around that, because we weren't positioning ourselves as like some guru. We were positioning ourselves as somebody who genuinely, like, it doesn't care how they're perceived. They were going to be open and honest, learning in front of everybody. And it was amazing the kind of response that we had for that. So moving forward in my life, I'm a newbie here and out. So I'm going to be asking you what you think too. And you just got to get used to it, because I want to learn from you.
Well, I actually have a question, which is why did
Sure.
why did you stop it? Because I mean, we keep on saying we're still so early. There are still so many normies out there. I mean, even with Alpha Collective, the main way that I want people to come in is through fiat, because like I'll take it one step further. I don't want, if people are watching, I do not want your first crypto purchase to be this. I don't want to be as I said, I don't want to break your crypto virginity, because you will get rugged, and I want you to blame me. I do not. So like I'm leaning into that too. So why stop it? Because I think you've got such a huge opportunity. Or is it just that this community opportunity is just so much bigger and where your heart is?
So I've learned that there are two types of people in my world. There are entrepreneurs and there are creators. And a lot of times we're a little bit of both, right? So I'm first and foremost a creator with entrepreneurial tendencies. And I lean into the entrepreneurship because it gives me the freedom to create. My co-host is first and foremost an entrepreneur and not so much a creator. And so there was a point where it was taking so much of our time. It had become a full-time thing. We had a whole full team, everything, where he said, look, this is taking away from my business, and decided to step away from the show and didn't want to make content anymore. So I was put kind of at a crossroads where the show came to an end. We had a 50-50 bid on it. And I was like, what the hell do I do now? And I decided to lean into Web3 and keep going because I'm fascinated with this. I couldn't keep Newbies because, again, we had a partnership there. But I decided, looking at the landscape, I think the most damage Heather Parady could personally do right now is this conversation around community, because it lights me up. And I think it's nobody's talking about it, in like a systematic, intelligent way. They're like, oh, build community, Paul, but nobody's saying, like, how the hell do you do that? What's the reality of this? So going back to service, I felt like that was the best way that I could serve solo, because unfortunately our partnership had to end.
I understand. So now we know the story behind the story. And I also love, by the way, how you refer to what you do as damage, because I have one of my best friends. He would say, I'm not a manager, I'm a damager. But I like the idea of damage. I mean, in a good way. I like the idea of upsetting the apple cart. So many people are so afraid to speak their minds, to tell the truth. The passive aggressive business and corporate culture is mind numbing. Instead of just being able, certainly not advocating being tactless and being mean, but I think there's got to be a middle ground where we can speak our mind, and do it respectfully and honestly. And I guess I'm just a romantic.
It's required to build community, to bring it back into that. Now, listen, I want to be so mindful, and I want to give you permission to come kick my ass anytime I become mean or hateful, because like this whole, forgive me y'all, but this whole entrepreneurial bro thing like drives me nuts, where it's like, I'm a lion and I'm going to eat you for dinner and all this stuff, and like some crazy stuff where I'm like afraid of them. I never want to be rude. I want to lead with empathy and kindness and understand, like, everybody has their own freaking experience, and we've got to be really respectful of humans, right? So first and foremost that. But however, if we're afraid to not draw a line in the sand and stand for something, it's going to be really hard for communities to be attracted to that. Because what are they being attracted to, right? Because communities are a shared belief, a shared value system. And so you've got to make it really, really known what you stand for, because that's going to repel some people, good, because that draws in the right people, and it's required to build community.
Yeah, I mean, look, I found a quote. I always find a quote for my guests, and this is the quote that I found for you because I've discussed community with so many guests. You are. I had to check, but you are guest number 382, and might I just say, my best guest yet.
You better believe it.
It's always the most recent and current guest. But so there are so many definitions, but this is the one I found for you, and at the perfect time where you brought up the whole bro culture. So this is the quote: "I measure the progress of a community by the degree of progress which women have achieved." And I just thought, like, wow, that's interesting. That's different. That's actually saying community is inextricably connected to women. This is from B.R. Ambedkar. Ambedkar? I might feel a bit dyslexic. Ambedkar. What do you think about conflating or bringing these two massively important topics together in this quote?
I would probably expand that to just say underrepresented groups in general. I think this is the first time I've ever seen this quote for in my life, but what I'm taking from that is when we can bring to the forefront the voices who are traditionally in the back, right, then we're actually paying attention to the whole. We're giving voice to people who are normally ignored. Yeah, that's women, but it's also minorities and underrepresented groups in general. So I love that. I think that's really interesting. I kind of steered away from the whole "I'm a woman" thing in this for forever because it annoyed me, because I didn't want to be seen as a female entrepreneur. I didn't want to be seen as a boss babe. I didn't want to be seen as any of that. I just wanted to be seen as a human. However, over the past year or so, entering into Web3 and NFTs, I've, painfully seen how few women are in this space. And it was my co-host, actually, Rich, who pointed out to me at one point, where he said, "Do you realize the opportunity that you have to be a voice for women here if you chose to?" And right after he said that, I started weekly Women in Web3 meetings where, everybody's welcome, but we just give a space for women specifically to come in and learn about Web3 completely free of charge, open Zoom call every single week. And it's been one of the things I've enjoyed the most, surprisingly, the thing that I kind of steered away from, because women are badass and we have a lot to bring to the table. And even just energetically, I don't want to talk gender here. I'm going to talk energetically here, masculine energy and feminine energy. I'm all for masculine energy. We need structure. We need vision. We need discipline. We need, step on the gas and move forward. Praise the Lord, we need that. But what we also need? We need the flow and the creativity and the empathy and all this stuff. And it's not a either or, it's a yes and. And I think the quicker we can get to a yes and kind of life, the more work that we're going to get done.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm going to attempt to do something a little bit on the fly. If I can even find it, but I'm going to look for one of these little 1-minute clips that I spoke about earlier, and in particular, if I find it, it's like they've only been 382 of them, but it really talks about, and I'll try. I know when I'll look for it, this idea of feminine energy and feminine qualities. For example, intuition is being intuitive, but also generosity and empathy. There are certain and look, I was brought up by a single parent, by my mom, and I'd like to believe that I have more feminine qualities than masculine qualities when it comes to the way that I conduct myself. But I completely agree with you. But until such time that we have proper representation, we just have to keep moving forward in the right direction. And so I appreciate that very much. Now, I was saying to you earlier that we have a lot in common, but I had no idea until we sent our investigators into the field to find out some, fun facts about you, or as I like to call them, the sordid, dark, dirty past of Heather Parady. None of that is actually true, of course. But for example, the first thing that I found out, and this is pretty damn awesome, that you were a zombie on The Walking Dead 9 times. We actually have a photo of you. Can you believe it, Heather? You look great. I mean, this is clearly not Heather. It could be Heather. We wouldn't know.
Everybody kept saying, "I didn't see you on The Walking Dead tonight." And I'm like, if you did recognize me, I would be so offended, because they just make you look crazy. But it was Oh man, this is funny. So get this. This is a good story about manifestation, okay? For my manifestors in the back. We're sitting there on the couch, me and my husband, watching The Walking Dead like normal people. And I said to him, I said, because I learned, I was Googling it, that they were filming in Georgia, and I'm from Georgia. I said, I'm going to get on that show. And he goes, but made me mad because I said, watch me, I'm going to get it. It was like a few months later, I figured out how the hell to get on the show and was on it for the full season of season 9 and one of season 10. So yeah, people laugh at you, use that as ambition, and get on Walking Dead. Come on.
So did you meet Ross?
Ross
Marquand, who introduced me earlier.
Uh-uh.
So as in, where is Ross? Ross, where are you hiding? This Ross.
Joseph Jaffe is not famous.
No, I haven't. But come to think of it, like what? Okay, a lot of people on Walking Dead look like that man right there. They all have that beard. They all have like the black hat and kind of.
Because they're all completely, disheveled and unshaven. And so I have another question. Did you die? Were you killed?
No, never. No. Have you watched The Walking Dead?
I love it. I mean, the final season is going on right now, but I haven't missed an episode until now. I mean, I'm catching up.
Yeah, no, I never died. I was usually just like in a crowd going, and then I was a whisperer too. So when Alpha did her whole whisper camp thing, I was just in her camp several times. So.
Wow. I mean, I'm so jealous, and I love the idea of manifestation because I'd never done it before. I'd never believed in it before. It wasn't a part of my life.
It's real. It all jokes aside. All jokes aside, if you really start, and people are like, oh, that's so woo woo. Learn some science. Like, seriously, learn the science behind energy and neuroplasticity and all of this stuff because it is backed by data that you can manifest and draw things to you. And that doesn't mean, to Jim Carrey's point, that you can lay on the couch and eat a sandwich. But what it does mean is that the power of intention has a reaction, right? And so when you set an intention out there, the universe conspires to bring it together if you set that intention strong enough and you hold steady. And most people don't hold steady. They throw it out there, they intended something, and they walk off and go eat a sandwich, right?
Unless you're actually manifesting lying on the couch eating a sandwich, in which case, what happened. I'm a comedian, not really.
You are. That's good.
Not really.
No.
But I mean, okay, neuroplasticity, manifestation, and then you just delivered what I always love to present back to my guests, which is your new book, Heather Parady. You want to know what it's called? I'm really good with this stuff.
Eat a sandwich.
It's called, no, not eat a sandwich. That's the subhead. It's called Hold Steady.
Ooh.
Hold steady. Stay the course.
I like
the life and times and success of Heather Parady and how she built an entire empire.
You would have
podcast episode at a time.
That I wrote, let me tell you, because it would be rough.
Well, I'll hold the book steady or the Kindle steady. So I tell you one thing that she didn't hold steady was the pie that she ate when she entered and won first place of 2 pie. By the way, I have won a pie eating contest as well. I told you we have a lot in common.
Why are we not friends, dude? Like,
walking we are now.
Eyes, like, what the hell?
Why is your face so clean in this photo?
Because I licked it off after I got done.
But I mean, who did you beat out? Was it like a equal opportunity pie eating, and were there hands involved, or was it just face only? I need details. Rhubarb, I need details.
Really, I beat a bunch of children, and that's an accomplishment. When you can beat children eating pie, my God, like, hang up your hat.
So did I swear, so did I. They were crying and I didn't give a damn. I was taking them down.
You took their pie. Eat their pie. They don't eat pie. Sugar hurts your brain.
So any hot dog, Nathan's, July 4th hot dog eating competition on your radar in the near future?
But I did eat a live goldfish for some money so I could do my laundry when I was 18.
Wow, that's a fish called Heather. Now, do we have one more piece of you
Uh,
at this point? You're like, I am never filling out fun facts in a Google Doc as
yeah,
well. So
Beckley
so
was odd.
so you apparently fell off the stage at your own wedding.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if this is going to work, but I'm gonna see if it does. Does it work? Is it animating right now?
This is hilarious. Yes, that's so funny.
Is that
Yeah,
you? No.
it was accurate. It's accurate. Yeah, and there was no alcohol. That if you get to know me, like people aren't surprised if they know this because I will fall over just standing here. Um, but it was humiliating. It was after our toast. My sister gave some little emotional speech or whatever, and everybody was clapping. I stood up and clapped, and then just fell straight backwards off the stage, like feet over. And it wasn't like one of those things where you know how people are like, ha ha ha, they laugh, and it was a moment. It was dead silent. Like nobody laughed, and everybody's like, "Ooh." It was that's me.
I'm clumsy too. Right now I have a pinky that is as black as the bars to your left and to your right on your screen. Because I walked into a stairwell. I'm clumsy too. And fun fact about me, I was hit by a train when I was 13 years old. So,
You
the
weren't real for real.
Mhm. The best thing I could ever do right now is just sit in front of a screen and be the host of a streaming talk show. Seriously, I might even drown in the stream if it were a real stream. So I'm where I need to be right now, Heather.
Why don't you like do a fun facts about you? Because I would watch that.
That might have to be tomorrow.
Do it. Hit by train. That's a kind of morbid.
Well, now you know what it is. Now you know the fun facts. All right. So now that we know these fun facts about you, we're definitely going to make sure that we get into the meat, the potatoes, and the
Hi.
spunkiness of the conversation. But before we do that, Whitney Lauritsen, the great Whitney Lauritsen, who has the well coin on rally.io. It is Wellness Wednesdays. It is Hump Day. It is time to think about our mental wellness, our mental health, our self-care, our self-love. And here is Whitney's contribution. And then we are getting stuck in on community. So take it away, Whit.
I opened up a piece of software that I use to manage my finances. And at the top, there was a banner that said, volatility is certain, anxiety is optional. And at first I thought, wow, that's kind of some good advice. And underneath it, it said, diversify your portfolio to help minimize risk and stop sweating the details, which also sounds like good advice, right? When we can plan for volatility, when we can diversify our income, what we're spending our money on, maybe pull back a little on some things, perhaps this can help with the inevitable changes and the ups and downs of things like the stock market and the economy, right? But at the same time, I think it's important to remember that you can't always control anxiety. It's not always so simple to stop sweating the details just because you change your portfolio and maybe you buy a few different things and you spread out your money in different ways. Just because you change the way that you're doing something doesn't mean that you're not going to have anxiety. It doesn't mean that it's going to feel easy all of a sudden. And that's one of the big reasons that I really encourage you not to look for quick fix solutions. They may give you some sense of relief, and that's great. I do think it is good advice, but it's not always that simple. So if you are feeling stressed or anxious right now, first of all, know that you are not alone. A lot of people are worried about all sorts of volatility. But it also might be helpful to know that, that's always going to happen. So sometimes just accepting something can help relieve some of those feelings. Won't take them away necessarily. And nothing really will do that. I think part of the human experience is volatile. Part of the human experience is those ups and downs. So if we also embrace that we're not always going to feel joyful, we're not always going to feel relaxed, we're not always going to feel at peace, maybe it's easier to deal with the times where our stress level is high and our anxiety is high and just take a deep breath, breathe through it, accept it, and say, okay, this is just part of the experience. And it's okay when things are not easy. I'm doing the best I can. That's kind of what I took away from this advice. It's helping to minimize risk in the best way that you can and handle your feelings in the best way you can.
She just calms me every single time as well. Volatility is certain, anxiety is optional. Gary Henderson is here watching, and good morning back to you. Eventually, Social Connector will reward engagement on streaming shows and podcasts. Heather, what did you think about what Whitney had to say today? Do you feel calmer?
Is she a therapist?
Say that again?
Is she a therapist?
She should be. Well, you would know. I mean, you would know.
Well, I'm saying she should be because she has that vibe, dude. Like I felt peaceful after listening to that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the concept of slowing down as well. And I actually think, whether when someone subscribes to your podcast, when somebody subscribes to my show, when we're part of an NFT community, we're actually in it for the ups and the downs, the lows and the highs, and we're there to help each other, through that volatility. And I think maybe live that quote out. You shouldn't have to be anxious in a community. Outside, it's mad, it's chaos, it's anarchy, but inside it should be peaceful, no?
I think what's helpful is experiencing some level of quote success and a level of failure, and that just comes through time and realizing that neither one make or break you. You know what I mean? Like the things that we strive for really hard to achieve, when you get them, it's awesome and you're grateful for it, but also too, it's not as fulfilling and not what you thought it would be because it's something else next right after that. And then when you fail and you fall flat on your face and things just are shit, and you realize that you can figure it out and you can crawl out of it. I think those are so powerful to become in that kind of more calm state, because really what we're anxious about is anticipation. Oh my God, I got to get here. Or, oh my God, what if this happens? But oh my God, when you got there, and oh my God, when that did happen, and you realize you're still the same freaking person with the same freaking insecurities and problems, etc., then nothing can shake you. Nothing can rock you. So that just comes through time, right? I don't think we can just go into something and be like, oh, I'm not going to be anxious about it, right? Until you just kind of been through the fire, and then you realize, well, things aren't as final as I think that they are.
It's actually very true, and I actually learned that there's a term for it. It's called pseudo anxiety. Yep. You're actually fearful of all the things that could go wrong, and which have not gone wrong, which may never go wrong.
Or right.
All right, exactly, yeah. Exactly. So you can have good anxiety too, but instead of just slow it down, be present, and focus on what you can control and what you can change.
Preach. Amen. Slow it down. And that's you have to do that to build community too, right?
Yeah.
Community can't be built fast.
Well, let's talk to the guru about community. There are 3 tweets that we are going to chat about. Here is the first one, which is the wrong time to start building a community is when you need to launch something to them. Agree, yes or no? I'm assuming that you would, in this particular case, agree with your own statement.
No, I think she's full of shit. That Heather Parady, can't stand her southern ass.
But tell us what you mean by that, because it's not as obvious as it looks.
This isn't something new to this Web3 conversation. Prior to this world, I was helping, again, therapists and coaches, educators, launch online programs, and they would spend hours and tons of money building this awesome program. And then when they launched it, they're like, oh, nobody's going to buy it. And they're like, I suck. My life sucks. Everything sucks. So I'm like, no, you haven't spent the time to foster, to cultivate an online community where people are used to your voice, to receiving from you. And now that you're launching something to them, I mean, that's no matter how much it costs, no matter what. I mean, if you haven't built trust with people, your program can be amazing. You could have all the qualifications, but that doesn't mean that you haven't put in the time to build that community. And so the time to start community was yesterday. If you're a creator, if you have any idea of something that you want to put out into the world, and it doesn't have to be this well formulated, perfect thing. All it is you sharing what you know, you bringing people in and then giving them a voice strategically to impart their own opinions and knowledge and build relationships with you and other people. So that's what I meant by that.
Well, Gary agrees,
Good.
and now we're going to move on to the second tweet. Instead of jumping up and down to get an influencer's attention, build something worth getting their attention naturally.
That makes me dance.
Oh wait, that was the wrong sound effect. What I wanted was, I know you like this. Instead of jumping up and down to get an influencer's attention, build something worth getting their attention naturally. Tell us what you mean by this, Heather Parady.
This over obsession with, if I get Paul, old famous Paul with the blue check mark on my show's gonna blow up. If I can get this one influencer to promote my NFT project or my creator coin or whatever, I'm going to be a millionaire. If I could just get Gary Vaynerchuk on a live with me, then all my dreams will come true. I interviewed people that I've dreamed of interviewing. It never did anything for my show the way that you think it do. Most people who's influencers promoting projects realize that they're probably getting paid to do so, and it doesn't have as much clout as we think. So we're working so hard on things that don't have any kind of real fruit, right? Thinking that they're going to change our world. Instead, what's more interesting is working your ass off for several years to create something like you're doing right here with this show, producing something amazing so people's heads are naturally turned towards you and you can build a real relationship with them. I'm not interested anymore in catching some influencers' attention online so they can retweet me. I'm more interested in building something really amazing so one day they're like, who the hell's this Heather Parady girl? I actually want to get to know her and I'll have a real friendship with that person one day.
Hold steady. Hold steady.
What's wrong with y'all?
I thought you said Paul as well. Like, who's Paul? Poor Paul. There is someone called Paul that did you wrong, or did wrong by you, I should say.
No, I'm so caught on Paul, but I say Paul all the time, and I feel really bad because that's a common name. I need to pick something like Humphrey.
Yeah, Humphrey. Slow it down, Humphrey. Just chill out. It's going to be fine. Engelbert Humperdinck. But you know what? So every morning I attend coffee. I attend coffee in, with my fellow giraffes in the Giraffe Tower as part of Gary Club with Gary Henderson. And that's why you see the giraffes every morning at 5 a.m. And this morning, you got to come and join me. You need a giraffe. I'll give you a giraffe.
I was like, what do you mean attend a coffee? Because my life is an attendance to coffee.
Well, if you can be up at 5 a.m. in the morning Eastern, I will send you a giraffe with my compliments. Current floor is 0.3 ETH, and you will get one with my compliments on condition, though, that you come to coffee. But I'll tell you the insight this morning, and I'm going to get it slightly wrong because I think the words really matter. But what Gary said this morning, I think, was very, very close to what to that tweet. He basically said, if you inflate demand too early or too soon, right? It's again, the blowing up, the Gary V tweet that blows it up. You will reduce supply so much that it will invariably and maybe even fatally harm your community because you've put your supply in the wrong hands. So, be careful what you wish for. You sold out, but it came at a cost. The cost was the quality. And I think that's exactly what you just said.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the name of the project, but there's a project we were very close to that the exact same thing happened. Like, Gary did catch their, and this isn't about Gary, it's just about influencer attention. He promoted something and because he believed in it, which was awesome, but it also brought in a ton of buyers who were just flipping them, right? And so that didn't help the community at all. In fact, it hurt them. So yeah, you just have to be mindful. Again, it's just this whole obsession with influencers, which I really hope, I don't know if it will ever get away from it, but I really hope this whole Web3 thing will start sniffing that crap out, or we stop putting so much stock in individual people and we start focusing on communities.
Yeah. I really hope so. And then your third tweet, which is an absolute pearl of wisdom, it really does speak to tough times. I'll make it a little bit bigger. Write down every name of every person who is still a huge believer in your NFT project during this time. That's your community.
If you think about just in real life.
Sorry, let's go with the air horn one more time.
Don't y'all want to go dancing with me? Look at these moves.
I'm telling you, like, you know what? We clearly are both not at NFT NYC, Manhattan NFT. So the next time we are together, let's do a little bit of dancing.
Let's do it, man. Yeah.
All right. So tell me about this, because it's a fantastic, it's one that basically, I mean, I call it first customers. It's being able to remember, who butters your bread and why you're in business in the first place.
My heartbeat, my mission with everything I do online is I really want us to bring our attention back to our online relationships are just like our real life relationships. We have this dissonance between online, digital, and real world, and there are some practical, technical differences, but from like a human perspective, it's exactly the same. And when you think about in your real life, when shit hits the fan, when you don't have things to give people, when everybody's against you, your ride or die friends who are there, who don't even question, who will come at midnight and take care of you and do what you need, how those are your people and you never forget them. It's the same thing with times like this in the NFT space where, things are hard and people are just jumping ship because they're afraid and they don't understand. Look around you. I mean, I know it's hard, obviously, for many reasons, not to be fixated on all the people leaving the space, but this is an opportunity for us to pull in and get even closer to our core few, because those are your forever people, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we're going to go from the sublime to the ridiculous, because Billy, wow, I haven't seen him in ages. Billy Sanders, who used to be my client back in the crayon days when we were trying to convince his brand, you might want to think about that tweetery thing, etc. And I think Billy was on board, but we still had to convince other people. But he said moves like Jagger with respect to the dancing. So you know what? I tell you what. Why don't you dance and I'll sing? Huh? Yeah, I can. I mean, you want the moves like Jagger. I got the moves like Jagger. I got the moves. It's like, well, welcome to the pit of despair. Welcome to the pit of despair. You know what? Anyone who's watching now, you deserve exactly. There he goes. Advantage American. I thought it was Deuce personally, but I guess it is Advantage American. See, I didn't mention the brand straight away, but I remember actually going in a client meeting, and I don't know if Billy was in that meeting, and I said, you guys need to think about being on Twitter. JetBlue just hit 1 million followers on Twitter. Wow. I remember that meeting very, very clearly. But yes, and by the way, I'm still executive platinum on American all these years later, even through a pandemic. I don't know how or why, but I am. Anyway, that's
your community that stays through hell or high water. You're their people.
I'm loyal to Billy. I don't know. Maybe I am, but yeah, I mean, we're gonna wind it up, but we're going to go back to that brilliant tweet of yours, because this is the time to go back and rededicate yourself to your first customers, to your clients, to people that are still sticking with you, to say thank you. The two most simplest and powerful words in the English language are thank you. Oh, look at what Billy said. He said, we opened the account a couple of hours later. Now he tells me. Now he tells me. Now that just made my day. Thank you, Billy. What a good man. But yeah, I mean, it's rededicate yourself to your listeners, your viewers, your audience, your crowd, your community, your friends. Because, it's the people. People reveal their true colors when times are tough. Yes. And what do you want to add? I think you have a point of view on that, Heather.
that people reveal their true colors. Sometimes they're hard.
And probably, yeah. Or another point.
I like when you were talking about the whole slow down thing, and I know you weren't really necessarily talking about community building with that. You were just talking about kind of like mental health and
Yeah.
mindset and stuff. But I think that's a good way to kind of wrap this up is, and nobody wants to hear this, it is a slow burn and it does take time. And back to the point about digital relationships are just like human relationships. I'm not going to be best friends with you, Joseph, probably after this call, because you still don't know me. You still have to build trust with me. It's still going to take time and us to go through some shit together to be like, oh, that's actually my brother, that's my sister, and to build that kind of relationship. Communities that are built overnight aren't real communities. They're not. And so when you expect to hand over your community building to some strategist or some community manager about build my community or whatever, and like in a month, you're like, what's going on? There's no community here. That's always on the leader's shoulders. We have to take responsibilities over our own communities, show up for them, and be willing to go at a snail's pace, even if you're moving like Mick Jagger, because you can, and I hope you do. It's going to take some freaking time. Paul. There we go.
Hold on. It's going to take some freaking time, Paul. And you know what? I would consider myself to have accomplished and fulfilled a lot in my life if I can earn that friendship and that trust and that respect and continue to build the relationship. Because I think you said it beautifully. Now, if you haven't and if you aren't convinced yet, well, then what the hell have you been doing for the last hour? You haven't been listening. Subscribe to Community Builders in Web 3.0. Look at you, you've been digitized, and be a part of this journey, not just as a passive listener, but as an active member, as part of a community, as part of like-minded people that come together for a common goal, for a shared purpose, to actually do this right. Because remember, Web 3.0, let's not fuck it up again. Let's get it right. 3 strikes and we're out. There's going to be no Web 4 where we get community right. We figure it out now. We don't figure out at all.
There will always be a Web 4 and a Web 5. It's like the iPhone. It just keeps coming.
Okay, so there will be a Web 4 and Web 5.0. I'm just trying to get them to take action. You can follow Heather on the Twitter, on Insta. You can do it a sea shanty with her on TikTok. You can hang out with her, discourse with her in Discord. Most importantly, subscribe, not podcast, but podcast. Look at me. This is what happens. I've got this amazing producer called me. Subscribe and support Heather's podcast at heatherparady.com/podcast and find out more about what she's up to at heatherparady.com. Heather, I can only hope that you still want me on your show tomorrow after today.
I have so much fun, and you better be ready, because now that I know what you pulled up your sleeve with my show, you better be ready for it to be returned to you. I'm going to give you some agents to get some fun facts on you too.
I'm going to be spunky and intuitive, and you know who else is spunky and intuitive is Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And we will be back soon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.